and we will try to solve these problems. In the last year, I demonstrated differential equations, sound generation, etc. And this year I thought, let us do something else. I mean, not something else means different from what I did last year. So I will start by introducing errors in numerical computation. We all know, at least we physicists, we all know that no measurements, or not only physicists, all the engineering students, they all know that no measurements are correct. Whatever tool that you are using, it must have some error. In computation also, the results that we are giving you, or the computer gives us, is not error free. It has some sort of error, and we can divide those errors in two categories. One is called truncation error and another one is called round off error. Let us first understand what truncation errors are. To understand a truncation error, we need to understand a series first. Suppose we all know that this is the series of exponential, which is called Maclaurin series. If you expand e to the power of x, and you will get a series like this: 1 plus x square by factorial 2, x cube by factorial 3, and so on. And this will go up to infinity. But if you want to use your computer or MATLAB code to calculate exponential of x using this series, you need to stop at some point. You cannot go up to infinity. We have, in the previous session, we have seen a series where I have used, I tried to calculate a sum. Sn is equal to 1 plus x square plus x cube, like that. Remember? And there I tried to calculate up to 10 to the power of 8. And if I want to calculate up to 10 to the power of 80, and remember that calculation took 8 seconds, about 8 seconds for in a straightforward manner, and MATLAB array, that also took 1 second. Now if I change 10 to the power 8 to 10 to the power 80, you may calculate how much more time it will consume. So you cannot go up to infinity. You must stop at some point. Now, if you stop at some point, say maybe x to the power of 6, let us say we want to calculate up to x to the power 6. That means after that, the terms like x to the power 7, x to the power 8, those terms are left back. So those terms, the calculated value will have the error due to the truncation of the series. We have truncated it at some point. So therefore, that error is called truncation error. Now we can calculate the truncation error this way: the true value minus the approximate value. That means if we truncate the series at x to the power 6, so sixth term, then the true value is the actual value, and the approximate value is calculated, is the value which is calculated by adding from 1 to 10 to the e to the power x to the power of 6. That is the approx value. The difference between them, the absolute difference between them, is what is called error, and this error is called the truncation error. Now to demonstrate this, we will try to calculate e to the power of 0.1, and we will go up to nth series. We will change n and we will see. Now we can understand directly from this, as if we increase the number of terms, there will be less error. So now more number of terms gives us less truncation error. Let us do it. Where is the MATLAB? Okay, here. See here. The first portion is common, clearing all variables. Then in this section, I have defined x equal to 0.1. And let us say we want to have only two terms. That is, the first term is 1 and then second term is x 1 plus 0.1. And the we have initialized the result exp val to be 1 and the current term is 1. That we have initialized. Now let us see how we can do the calculation. We are running a loop, for loop, and that goes from 1 to n. That means two terms will be calculated, first and second. Initially, the first term, the current term is calculated. What is the current term? Current term is the previous term multiplied by x by 1. So this is how we can see. See here. Suppose this is the current term for a time being. Current term is x to the power 5 by factorial 5. Now next term will be x to the power 5 by 5 factorial. If I multiply it by 6 by 6, x to the power 6 by 6, then this will be no, not x to the power 6. Okay, so when it is erase it, this will be x only. X by 6, x to the power 6 by factorial 6. Okay, so this is how we can calculate the next term. If I know the current term, the next term can be calculated by multiplying it by x divided by the next term index. So see here, current term is calculated, the previous current term multiplied by x by I, and the value is stored in an array, exponential exp val, which is an array I plus 1. Initially I was 1, it has only one value, and now we are increasing the dimension of the array. The length of the array is being increased and one value is being added to the one element is being added to the array. So the initial term, the current term plus the calculated term, we are getting it. Have you understood this? The true value we can calculate expx from MATLAB, and error we are calculating by taking the difference between them and taking the absolute value of them. Now if we run it, see what happens. Initially, as we are increasing the term, the error, the initial error was 0.01. In the next term, if we go up to next term, the error is 0.0052. And if we go up to second, that is x to the power of 2, we are having error 0.002. That means error is slowly being decreased. As we increase the terms, the error is being decreased. And if we see true val, error, or if you see exp val, exp val. See, if we go up to first term, the result is 1. Why 1? We have initialized to 1, that's why. exp val we have initialized up to 1, so that's why it is 1. And if we do the first iteration, then we are getting 1 plus x. Remember, x we have taken 0.1. That is why it is getting 1.1. And if we include the next term, x square by factorial 2, so that means 1 plus 0.1 plus 0.1 square by 2, we are getting this. And if we slowly increase the, say, instead of n equal to 2, if we go up to 100 terms, and the error, it is not shown here because it's very small, but we can plot them in a log scale. We just want to plot the error and see how the error looks. Not 100, let us plot, let us go up to 10, and we'll be able to see. In the x-axis, this is number of iteration, and in y-axis, error, the magnitude of error. See how it is decreasing. As we are increasing the number of iterations, the error is being decreasing. So this is the truncation error. If we truncate the series up to third term, you will have this much of error. If we truncate the series up to 0.9, you will have this much of error. Okay. This is one type of error. Okay. This is how the error decreases. The next one is round of error. Round of error is similar, kind of similar to what is called machine precision. Now, to understand machine precision, you all have seen a ruler, a simple scale or simple ruler with which we used to measure a distance of between 2 points during our class 5 or class 7 geometry classes. So if you recall, your scale or ruler has a least count. You cannot measure smaller distances with smaller distances compared to the ruler least count with the same scale, ruler. For example, this particular scale has a least count of 0.1 centimeter, and you cannot measure 0.01 centimeter with this scale. That is why it is called the least count. So whatever you measure with this particular scale will have an error of the order of 0.1 centimeter. So there is an error due to the precision of the instrument. And if you want to increase the accuracy, or if you want to increase the precision, then you must use a vernier or some other technique, some other method which has more precision. It has better precision than a ruler. Similarly, in a computer where we are storing values, storing numbers, that number has a precision. Meaning, and now if you want to understand the precision, you need to understand how a computer stores number. For example, it stores in a binary format. Okay. So this is a 4-bit number. You all probably know binary numbers, right? 0 and 1. And you can convert binary numbers to decimal numbers and vice versa. I assume that you know this, right? So if I were to give a 4-bit number, it has a precision. It's a say integer, and say maybe a 1 0 1 1, and it has a corresponding binary number. Can anybody tell me what will be the decimal number of this?
19.
Okay, so 1, then 2, 3, 4 is 0, and 8. 3 and 8. No, not 19. 8 plus 3. 2 to the power of 0, 2 to the power of 1, 2 to the power of 2, 2 to the power of 3. So this is 8. 8 plus 2, 10, and 11. Right. Oh, what happened? So this is how a number can be stored. And then the next number, just next number will be 12. That means this, if this is the box that I am given to store numbers, the precision will be 1. I cannot store 11.5 within this box. Am I? Can I store it? Can I store 11.5?
No.
For that, I must have some more boxes. Whatever you, I mean, if I am given, say, 20 number of boxes, still I will have some precision. There will be a limitation. Have you understood? Therefore, there is a precision in computer also. You cannot have infinitesimal or 100% accuracy. So due to that, we will have round off error. Somewhere we need to round off. Just like we go to a market and purchase some fruits, and if the calculated value is, say, or some other materials from market, if the calculated value is 12.3 rupees, do we pay 0.3 rupees or do we take back 0.7 rupees? No, we round it off. We round it off to 12 or 13. Similarly, so that means that whenever we do some rounding off, there involves an error. Whenever there is a precision, there involves an error, and that error is what is called round off error. So the definition between truncation error, the difference between truncation error and round off error is hopefully clear. Now we'll see the live demonstration of these two, or the competition between these two for numerical differentiation. I did pick up this particular topic of the numerical differentiation just to demonstrate the competition between those two errors, truncation error and round off error. But before understanding the difference, let us first see how numerically differentiation is done. We have seen, or we know, that the fundamental definition of differentiation is this: limit h tends to 0, function of x plus h minus x, f of x divided by h. And this is approximated to this. Whenever we do some approximation, why this approximation is required? Because h tends to 0. H tends to 0, you cannot implement h tends to 0 in a computer. You must use some finite h. Therefore, if you use finite h, there involves an error. Okay? And we can also see how this error can be calculated. So if you write a Taylor series expansion of function x plus h, where h is small, not tending to 0, but h is small compared to x, the Taylor series expansion tells us f(x plus h) is equal to f of x plus h times first derivative of x, then h square by factorial 2, double derivative of x, and so on. Next term will be h cube by factorial 3 multiplied by triple derivative of x. And if we rewrite this expression, keeping this one on the left hand side, this term on the left hand side, and taking all the terms on the right hand side, we can get this expression: fx plus h minus f of x divided by h, and here we will have h divided by factorial 2 f double prime of x, and the other terms. And while doing numerical computation, we will use only this part. Therefore, these terms are left. These terms are not calculated. That means we are going to incorporate, we are going to have truncation error. Okay, we are going to have truncation error. And how can we decrease it? If we take these terms, then the truncation error will be minimized. If we take these terms also, then truncation error can be minimized. Moreover, if we decrease h, the round of error can, I mean, what I want to say, in this problem, round of error or precision error is there. Also, truncation error is also there. Okay, so the competition between them we will see. So the next line, in the next line, if we neglect them, there will be a h order term. The next term is h square, which is smaller than h. So the highest neglected term is this one. So it will have an error of the order of h. So let us go back to the programming once again and see it. Okay. Before that, okay. So so before going to the programming mode, I will show you some other for difference formulas. This is called forward difference formula. Just now we have got forward difference formula. Similarly, instead of taking Taylor series of f of x plus h, if we had taken x minus h, function of x minus h, we would have got f of x minus h f prime of x plus h square by not h square by factorial to f double prime of x, and so on. And if we had proceeded, if we had if we had taken this, and if we proceed, we will get this formula. This is called backward difference formula. Have you come across this backward difference formula, or you are seeing it for the first time?
I see first time.
Oh, you are seeing it first time. Anyway, so different numerically, you can take this formula, use this formula, or this formula, whichever is useful or convenient to you. There is another formula which can be used, that is called central difference formula. In the central difference formula, say you take f of x plus h and f of x minus h, then take the difference between them. You will see the even terms, that is x to the power 0 term, h to the power 0 term, h to the power 2 terms, those terms will be cancelled, right? If you take the difference between f of x plus h minus of x minus h, then this term will be cancelled, this term will be cancelled. What will be left is the first order term, h of f prime x, h of f prime x, and the next term which is still there will be h cube term, third order term. And if we divide both sides by h or manipulate the equation, we will get this equation, and it will have an error of the order of h square. So the error is decreased due to the utilization of central difference formula. So if you are going to use numerical differentiation with greater precision, you must use central difference formula. And today we are going to demonstrate all three of them. Okay. To do that, let us take an example. Let us try to calculate the differentiation derivative of tan inverse of x. We know the exact answer, analytical answer, that is 1 by 1 plus x square, and we want to calculate the derivative at x equal to 1. Let us go to the programming MATLAB and do it. So we want to calculate the derivative at x equal to 1. So I have taken a equal to 1, and the true value, the actual value is 1 by 1 plus a square. And the step size h, initially I have taken 1 into 10 to the power of minus 1. So 0.1. And then I am initially calculating the forward difference formula. What is the forward difference formula? Tan inverse of a plus h, that's function of a plus h minus function of x. So function of a divided by h. This is forward difference formula, very simple. And I am calculating the forward error. I mean error for the forward difference formula. That is the true value, actual value minus the calculated value forward difference. This is the error. And if I run it, see, the forward difference formula gives us the error 0.242 for h.1. So the h and error, the h step size is 5 times error, or the error is 1/5 times the step size. It is of same order. Now let us change the h step size. Let us decrease 10 to the power of -2. See, if we change the error step size, the error has also decreased. If we decrease it further, say 10 to the power of -4, the error is also decreased, keeping the same ratio. And if we plot them, okay, before plotting them, let us calculate the backward difference formula also. I have already written. Oh, there is another functionality I like to demonstrate. Suppose there are four commands which are commented, and you want them to uncomment. Select them. I have selected. Right click on them and uncomment. Okay, so these are now live command. Let us do it once again. I have typed Ctrl Z. Select them. Right click on them, and then click on uncomment. So these are all now a part of the program. So this is the backward difference formula. Function of x minus function of x minus h. And then backward difference. Central difference formula. Function of x plus h minus of function of x minus h divided by 2h. Remember, in the central difference formula, we had 2h in the denominator. So we have used it, and we have calculated the error for the forward difference formula, error for the backward difference formula, error for the central difference formula. And if we run it for 10 to the power of -4, we will see that, see, for backward difference formula, the error is of the order of 10 to the power -5. For forward difference formula is also the error is 10 to the power -5. But for central difference formula, the error is much less. Right? As we expect that the central difference formula must have error of the order of h square. That is what we are seeing here. Okay. Now I want to plot them. The error versus step size. To do that, I will comment h here. Please understand, or please concentrate here. What I am doing here, I am creating an array for h, where this is an array which starts from -1, goes up to -3 with decrement by 1. And that array is exponented over 10. So if we run this particular code, test, what we see, uncomment it. This is the array that we want to create. 0.1, the first element is 0.1. Then the calculation will be done for 0.01. then 0.001. Okay. And for all those, H forward difference formula will also be an array, because H is an array. H is an array. If we add A, that's an array. Tan inverse of an array is also an array. But there is a division involved. In the numerator, there is an array, and the denominator H, that is also an array. Array by array. And we want term by term division. Therefore, we must have a dot slash. Is it clear now? We want term by term division. Therefore, we want this. Therefore, after that, we will plot H versus forward difference error, H versus central difference error, H versus backward difference error. And if we run the code, see, there are the forward and backward difference graphs have overlapped, and this is the central difference. You can see the error for central difference is much smaller compared to forward or backward difference. And as we decrease the step size from 0.1 to 0.001, the error is gradually decreasing, which is expected. If we decrease H, the error will decrease. This is expected. Now, if we decrease it further, say maybe up to 10 to the power of -10 and run, what happens? This is interesting. Initially, when we decrease the error, when we are decreasing the step size, the error is getting decreased. After some time, there is an optimum value after which it is again increasing for central difference and backward difference and forward difference for both the cases. I mean, for all the cases. However, the optimum values are different. Now, what is happening here? Initially, when you are decreasing, when H is higher and we are decreasing, the one type of error is decreasing, and after this point, another type of error is increasing. So there is a competition between truncation error and round off error. Initially, the truncation error is getting decreased. The order of H, that is truncation error, it is being decreased, and after the optimum point, the round off error is playing its role. So the total error is increasing. So there is a competition between them, and this is what I wanted you to see. That is why I have chosen this numerical differentiation topic. So if you want to really do numerical differentiation, you cannot just use any step size. You need to understand the optimal step size, and that particular optimal step size you need to use in your program. Okay. Okay, so this is what I have demonstrated. Now, next come the solving of nonlinear equation. This is another topic. Single variable. If I give you this equation, y equal to exponential of x minus 10x, and I want you to solve exponential of x minus 10x equal to 0. Can you solve it analytically? The answer is no. You cannot solve this equation e to the power x minus 10x equal to 0 analytically. It is difficult. So therefore, we can use numerical techniques, but in numerical techniques, you need to know the procedure. There are many techniques. For example, the first one that we are going to demonstrate now is bisection method. From the graph, we can see the solution is here. This is where the value of the function is 0. This is 0 line, y equal to 0 line. So at x equal to 0.1118 and x equal to 3.5772, we are going to have y equal to 0. This is clear? Now, how can we implement it numerically to get these values? We want to get these values where the function will have 0, or root. To do that, I am going to demonstrate two methods. One is bisection method, another is Newton-Raphson method. And I will introduce two MATLAB functions. Without knowing the details of bisection method, without knowing the details of Newton-Raphson method, you can just use those two functions and get these results. But I think you must understand the basics of the procedure, how we can use bisection method. Okay, so in bisection method, first let us understand graphically or the steps that we need to follow. In bisection method, you need to guess the results, or in other words, you need to guess 2 points within which at least one root may fall. For example, if you have taken a guess, say minus 2 and 2, say you have taken these two guess and you bracket it, and we can see that the root falls within it. So these two initial guess is required in bisection method. Okay, if you cannot guess the value, guess the root, then bisection method won't work for you. So the first step is to guess the root, and those two roots, let us call them XL lower and XU upper. So for example, to demonstrate this, I am taking XL equal to -3 and XU equal to 1. Next comes checking. You need to check whether the actual root falls within these bracket. How can we do it? See, if the root falls within it, within the bracket, in one case the function will be positive, and in another case the function will be negative. At least one will be positive and another one will be negative if there is a root. And if you take, say, one here and another one here, this is the bracket, then here also positive, here also positive. So the product between them, f of XL and f of XU, will be positive. Therefore, this is the checking criteria. If function of XL multiplied by function of XU is negative, that means it contains, the bracket contains at least one root. This portion is clear? Am I audible?
Sir, audible.
This portion is clear?
Sir, not clear actually.
Okay, so let me repeat it once again. Suppose you have taken a guess root XL equal to -3. Now if you put x equal to -3, you will get a value of this. Okay, somewhere
Yes,
between somewhere around 30. And if you put x equal to 1, XU equal to 1, you will get a value of this, which is somewhere around minus 0.7.8, -8, or -7, -8. So one of them is, say, let us call it, say, 30, and say -7. So f of XL is 30 and f of XU is -7. And what is the product of them? Minus 210. And see, since this is positive and this is negative, the graph must have crossed the zero line. Of course, it has to cross. Otherwise, how can it go to negative? Isn't it? So what I am telling from here, that these two values, x equal to -3 and x equal to 1, within this limit -3 and -1, there exists a root. Now, instead of -3 and +1, if we had taken -3 and -1, what will be the value here? This is somewhere around, say, 17. Okay. So in that case, 30 and 17. What is the product?
Positive.
Positive. Similarly, if you take here and here, both of them are negative. The product will be positive. So what I am telling here, that if the product between function of xl and function of xu, if the product is negative, then only the limit xl and xu contains at least one root. Is it clear now?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Now the next step would be to bring these two guess values closer to the root. To do that, we will calculate the average of them, xl and xu, and we will define it as x new. So what is the average between -3 and +1? It's -1. That is now called x new, and we will calculate x new once again. So we know f of xl, we know we can calculate f of x new, and we also know f of xu. F of xu we also know. Now again we will calculate the product of xl and x new, function of xl and function of x new. Okay. We will calculate the product xl and x new. If the product again is positive, that means these 2 points does not contain the actual root. If, since we can see here f of xl and f of x new, both of them are positive, so therefore the product of them will be a positive number. Therefore these 2 points, -3 and -1, will not contain a root. On the other hand, f of x new is positive and f of xu is negative. Therefore the product of these two will be negative, and hence these 2 points, x new equal to -1 and xu equal to 1, these 2 points will contain the actual root. So we will drop f of x, we will drop xl, and the x new will be now called new xl. This is clear? And
Yes, sir.
we will proceed again. We will again calculate the average of them, again calculate see the condition of positivity, again see the condition of negativity, and we will proceed. This is how we will come closer to the root. And this process will continue. This process will continue until we obtain the desired level of accuracy. Okay. So let us go to the programming and see the demonstration. Bisection method. It's very simple. Program wise, it's very simple. If you have understood the logic or algorithm behind it, the programming is very simple. Okay. The function is not this. First, we need to create the function. So the function is created. within the script file. The function is defined f of x, and the return value is val exponential of x minus 10 times x. This is the function definition, very simple. And whenever you call f of x, this will be calculated for that particular x, and the value will be returned by val variable. And here we are initializing. The initial value of Excel is 10, and the another initial value is say 1. Then we can calculate function of Excel, function of fu. We can calculate if we are checking the condition. If FL and FU, the product, instead of doing that, I can directly use it here. FL, f of XU. Delete it. So you have initialized two guess roots, 10 and 1. And then we are taking the product of the functions. If this is greater than 0, if this is greater than 0, that means it doesn't contain any root. So it will show an error message. And that tells us initial guess should have been different sign. So the program will stop and we need to run it with different set of initial guesses. And then we will do iterations. Say we will do 2 iterations. In the first iteration, we will first calculate the error. What is the error? XL and XU, the difference between those two numbers divided those two numbers. And we are calculating the X new, that's the average. Now we have got a new variable, new X value, and we will calculate XL times f of X new. If this is greater than 0, then X new is assigned to XL, and if this is less than 0, otherwise XU will be assigned the new value. And this process will continue for how many times? 2 times. And if we do that, we are getting a root 5.5. How much value we have taken? 10 and 1. What is the average? 11 by 2. Okay? 11 by 2. That is what we are getting. And if we run it for more iterations, say 10 times, we are getting 3.58. And we have also calculated then error. Have we calculated error? Okay, error is there. And error is shown here, 0.017. So it is decreasing. Okay. If we run it for 20 iterations, error is now 1.7 10 to the power of minus 5. And the result is slowly converging towards 3.5772. And what was our value? 3.5772. And what is the bracket that we had taken? 1 and 10. Within this limit, there is only one root, that is 3.57. And if we were to use, say, minus 3 and 1, we will get another root. See, 0.118. That was another root, 0.118. Correct? Are you with me?
Yes, sir.
Good. Now, if we run it for, say, 30 iterations, we expect the error to decrease, right? Let us see. For 20 iterations, error was 10 to the power of minus 6. For 30, 10 to the power of minus 9. Say 100, 10 to the power of minus 17. 200, now it is not decreasing. What happened? We have done our iterations 10, 100 times more, still the error is not getting decreased. Why? Because of the which type of error? Round of errors, or what is called precision, machine precision. It is not getting decreased. So I mean, instead of 200 iterations, I would have stopped at earlier point. Whenever the error is satisfied, I am satisfied with the result, the type of error, then I can stop. In that case, instead of running it for a fixed number of iterations, I can use a while loop. Okay, to while loop, or this is also possible. Suppose I am defining a tolerance of x. That means the maximum error I can tolerate within my result is 10 to the power of minus 6. And within the for loop, I am giving this command. If error is less than tolex, then the loop, for loop, will break. Means the for loop will no longer execute. If this condition is satisfied, error becomes smaller than 10 to the power of minus 6, the loop will stop executing. And if we run it, the result has come. But how much iterations is now, how much iterations it took? That's 23. Why 23? It was running from 1 to maximum iteration. When I became 23, this condition is satisfied. Therefore, after 23, the value of I 23, the loop stopped. And we got our desired result. Have you understood the code? Is there anyone who didn't understand, or anyone who wants me to repeat? No. Well then. The bisection method we have discussed. Now, instead of doing this, I am giving you a simple method. Is this? No need to write the bisection method anymore. You just write the function. What is the difference between the bisection method and this one? There is initialization there, then checking, then this rule loop, then the exit condition, and then function. And this is a inbuilt function of MATLAB where we only need to initialize the guess values and only need to write the function and use this function. What is this function? F0. First, let us see the function. Have you seen earlier this function, this type of thing? Today,
Yes.
Today only we discussed. Where? What was that function? Remember? It was fplot. Plotting a direct function. There we use this. Here also, @x means the function that we are going to solve will have dependence on x only. So the general definition is like this. This is the solution, f0, one of the solution, not both the solution. This is one of the solution will be there. F0 within bracket @x, then the function name or the direct function, and then within bracket the lower limit and the upper limit. Okay, this is very simple. Now if we run it, where is the error? What happened? Okay, so -1 and 0.9, -1 and 9, does it contain any root? -1 here and 9, does it contain 9 is somewhere here or beyond my screen? -1 is here and 9 is beyond my screen. Let's say here. Does it contain root. Yes, this is one root, and this is, how many roots are there? 2 roots. But the initial condition, at 1 this is positive, at 9 also this is positive. Therefore, that is why this condition is failing. So I need to use some different value, say minus 1, 1 and minus 1. Okay, it is giving the result. And what about the another one? If we put 1 here and if we put 10 here, the another result. This is very simple. No need to write a code. Just use this function. I would have written directly. I would have written it here directly. Now, tell me, will this work? Will this function work? Anybody? During f plot, that didn't work. X star sin x didn't work. Will it work now? It works.
Yes, work.
Why? Because there is no term by term multiplication involved. Exponential x is an array. Good. 10 times x, that's also an array operation, but array operation by what? A scalar. So this is a single array. This is also an array. Array minus array. So no need to put dot star. Okay. Instead of doing this, if I had given x sin x, then you need to put dot star. So this without the function file, you can directly write the function here, and the f0 function will work. So this is it for the the bisection method. Now, if you are still with me, and if you still want to learn Newton-Raphson method, we can proceed. Otherwise, if you are confused, or if you cannot follow, then we will stop it. We'll stop. Should we continue?
Continue, sir.
Okay. So Newton-Raphson method. This is, in the previous method, bisection method, we had to give 2 initial guesses, and that too, you cannot just give any 2 numbers. It must contain 1 root. If it had contained 2 roots, then it will give you an error, or the program will not give you a result. It must contain 1 root in the bisection method. In the Newton-Raphson method, here also you need to supply an initial guess, single value. Bisection method, 2 values were required. In Newton-Raphson method, you require only 1 value. So initial guess. Suppose I am calling it x old. Okay. Any value x old, and I can calculate f of x old using this function. Then with the x old value, I can calculate the derivative at this point, or since the function is known, I can directly calculate the derivative. What will be the derivative? F prime of x. Anybody? Right? This will be the derivative. Since the function is given, I can take the derivative. What is derivative? Derivative tells us the slope or tangent drawn at that point. Let us draw the tangent. So this is the tangent, dotted line. If I draw a tangent at f old, x old, the slope of this tangent, or the angle that it makes with x-axis, the tangent of that angle, tan theta, is the derivative, right? And from this triangle, this is the perpendicular height, And what is the height? F of x old is the height, and the horizontal difference between these 2 points, if I can know these 2 points, this distance, and if I know this distance, I can calculate the tangent.
Yes, sir.
And see, I can write the tangent or the derivative in this format: f of x old height divided by base, x old minus x new. What is x new now? X old is known from this equation, f old is known from this equation, x new I have supplied, x old I have supplied, this one is the value that I have supplied, then I can calculate x new from this equation. Via this, if I rewrite this equation in this format, I can calculate x new. So let me clear the screen first. Erase all. Okay. If I know tangent, I can calculate x new. Now see, x new is closer to the root. This is the root. Initially, I took x old, which was little away from the root. Now I have taken the derivative and I have calculated x new. X new is closer to the root. Again, if I do the same thing, that is calculate the derivative at x new, that means at this location, if I draw the tangent, and again I calculated a new x new, this process will continue and ultimately we will reach very close to actual root. Okay. So in general setup, which one do you think is easier, the bisection method or Newton-Raphson method?
Newton-Raphson method.
It seems that it is easier, right? And there was a problem also in bisection method, that if you had taken a wrong guess, it cannot converge. Moreover, if you had taken a guess bracket which contains 2 or even number of roots, then also the program fails. But that doesn't happen here generally. So let us, this is the last program that I'm going to demonstrate. Okay. In this program, similarly, we need to define 2 variables, 2 functions, one for the function itself and one for the derivative. I could have directly used it within the loop, but I think it is better to use different function for in the function format. So 2 functions I have defined. One is for the function itself, one is for the function, the derivative of the function, which is written as f1, not f prime. F prime is not defined here, right? Remember, you cannot define a variable with any other special characters except underscore. That is why I am writing f1. And in the function, initialize x old, which is 5, then max iteration and tall x, both of them I have given. I am calculating x old, x new using this formula. X new, that's equal to x old minus function divided by derivative of the function, or f divided by f1. See here, x old minus f divided by f1, right? So x new is there. Now I will calculate the error, the old value and new value, the difference between them. If the difference is smaller than the tolerance that I am expecting, then the loop will break and the solution will be the newest value. The latest value will be the solution. Have you understood the code?
No.
You didn't? Okay. Let me repeat it once again. See here. First, we need to initialize a guess value, which is called x old. For our case, we had taken x old to be 5. And then we need to calculate the function value at x old and the derivative at x old. Function value can be calculated from this function. We will put 5 here, exponential of 5 minus 50. And we can also calculate the derivative, e to the power of x minus of 10. And if we put x old there, e to the power of 5 minus of 10. So both of them can be calculated, f of x old and f prime of x old. And x old is already known, 5. So this function, this part can be calculated easily. And from that, we can calculate x new. And we will be doing this repeatedly. Now this x new will be called x old. This x new will now be called x old, and we will find another new x new, which is closer to the root. That's our strategy. And and here, see how we have implemented that strategy. I think it will be better if we can see them side by side. Isn't it? See here how we are implementing. Initially, we have initialized x old to be 5. And this part, you know, max iteration, how much iteration we want. And this part you also know that if the required level of accuracy is achieved, then we'll stop. For the time being, let us comment it. For the time being, let us comment this portion. This portion. Let us comment it. Comment. So this tolerance level checking won't be appearing here. And let us run it for 10 times. So first, what we will do, see the same function we are calculating. X old minus f of x old divided by f1 of x old. And how do I calculate f of x old and f1 of x old? It is written here in the function part. This is f of x, and this is the derivative of this function, exponential x minus 10x. That is exponential x minus 10 is the derivative. Okay, so we have calculated x new. A new x new is calculated. Now we are calculating the error. Error means the difference between the old value and the new value. If these two diminishes, or the value or the difference between x new and x old becomes very small, that means we have come very close to the actual root. So that is why we are defining error to be the difference between x new and x old. Okay, and in this loop within, since we have got a new value of x, that new value of x is being replaced. That new value of x is now assigned to the old value. That means this old value we will drop, and this new value we will call it x old now. And again, based on this new x old, we will calculate another x new. That's our strategy, and that is how that is being implemented here in this loop. Okay, so this x old, we have got a new x old. Again, based on that x old, we will calculate x new. We will come to here. We will come this position, and this part is this part will be calculated repeatedly. Now, if we run it, I think now it is clear. Is it?
Now it is clear. Yes, sir.
Okay.
If you done in MATLAB or Fortran, what is the difference? If you done the Newton-Raphson in Fortran, and if you done in MATLAB, what is the difference?
Sure. That's I mean, this is the fundamental concept that I am trying to demonstrate. But in MATLAB, if you really want to understand the power of MATLAB, then Jacobian technique can be used. Instead of this thing, we can use arrays method. That is a bit involved method, and that is possible only in MATLAB like programs. In Fortran, that cannot be done. That is number one. And secondly, ready-made functions are available in MATLAB. Okay, those are the main differences.
Yes, sir.
So if we run it as expected, the result will be 3.577. And if we run it more, if we run say 100 iterations, the error will decrease. Okay. Okay.
Sir, if you take more and more iteration, we get accurate value.
No, there will be a limitation because of the round of error. It cannot, I mean, as we have seen earlier, that the difference between two numbers, just like the case for the scale, least count, the difference between two numbers that a computer stores, there is a limitation or this precision. Below that precision, you cannot expect the error to go down. Okay? The error cannot be smaller than the precision of your computer. If you run it for say 10,000 times, still the error will not be decreasing. After certain iterations, the result will saturate, or it will not, I must say, converge to some value, and it will have some error, which is related to the precision of the computer. And next, instead of this Newton-Raphson method direct coding, hard coding, we can use this fsolve, similar to what was the earlier function, f0. Here we can use fsolve, similar function, similar type of function. What is the only difference? In case of f0, we had to give a bracket to a set of values, initial guesses. But in Newton-Raphson case or fsolve case, we need to put only one guess. That's the only difference. And we need not give the derivative. The fsolve program calculates it automatically, or it is built in. And if we run it, we get the result. If we give 5, it converges to the one of the root. If we give say -1, it converges to another root. Okay?
Yes, sir.
So this is the general fsolve function. With this, I come to the end of this session, and I would like to thank all of you for listening carefully, listening patiently. And I'd like to thank Dr. Shail Pandey, Dr. Himanshu Pandey for giving me this opportunity to speak in front of you. I'd like to thank the organizers. I'd like to thank the SVNIT institution. Thank you very much. If you have any question, or you want me to show any part of the program which you did not understand, you can tell me. I'll be happy to answer you.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Sir, the 3D equation of Maxwell, how to solve by using the FDTD method, FDTD simulation in MATLAB?
I didn't get you. 3D?
FDTD simulation.
Okay, FDTD, right.
This simulation is using for the solving of a Maxwell's equation in 3D form.
Right, right.
So how to solve that thing?
Yes, I did solve this, and but I didn't require them for my particular research works. I did it for learning purpose and for demonstration purpose, but for my own work, I did not require FDTD method. Rather, I use more like what is that? RK4 method, the differential equation solution. Those are the things that I require often, more frequently.
Okay. So, sir, which method I use for the 3D Maxwell's equations rather than FDTD method?
You want to solve the differential equations?
Yes, sir.
You can directly hard code your differential equation using RK4. RK4 is Runge-Kutta method.
Okay.
FDTD method is actually RK4 method only. Basically, it's a RK4 method.
Okay, sir.
Any more question?
Sir, actually in MATLAB, actually if you learn something, then for practice we can buy the MATLAB or any free application available.
Free, actually, it's not free. You can crack it. Some kind of, that is not legal or ethical. Either you, you take it from your institution. Your institution must have a certified or license. There you can run, or take the license, or hire that license. That is legal.
Sumit, can I add one point here? You already spoken about this GNU version Octave. So can a student use the same
Yes.
code indirectly in the Octave? Most of them. Okay.
Most of the codes are compatible with Octave and Scilab, but there you cannot find the Simulink like toolboxes. Those things are not yet available in Octave, but you can, since it's a open source language, you can contribute there. You can create your own toolboxes and contribute to the open source programming.
And as far as I know, in the Octave, you do not need to install the software in your system also. So online, you can just prepare your code in your system and paste at the online in the cloud, and it will run there, and you will get the answer and all. So maybe this was GNU, yes.
Yes, GNU.
Actually, I asked my friends, actually by elder brother, that sir, for MATLAB, how many space is required? He said 30 GB actually. This is right?
No, for basic installation, you require only 2-3 GB. But if you want to install all the toolboxes, then you require more space. That's the installation purpose. And if your code, for example, in my case, one of my code ran more than 2 days. It took 48 hours. And the amount of data that it generated, that is about 6 to 7 GB. So, that's the output of the program. And that depends on the type of work that you are doing. But for installation purpose, basic installation requires 2-3 GB. That's it.
Okay, sir.
Any more question? I think the student should ask. So if no further question, then let's conclude the second session. And please join me to thanking Dr. Samit Paul for giving this nice introduction as well as a demonstration, which is which was on a very important topic, not for the student as well as for the researcher point of view, the errors, because as he mentioned that the errors, they are not only occurring in the experiments, they occur in the computation also. and we should code the errors sensibly with some physical meanings. It's not like that calculator or the computer is giving me a digits, let's say 100 digits after decimal, and we should quote all those numbers. Okay, so each digit has important, and we should learn it, and one should take this kind of positive message from these two talks. And let's again thanks on the behalf of organizing the team of CTP 2021 to Dr. Samit Kaul for sparing us his valuable time and giving this informative and very interactive sessions on MATLAB. So thank you, Dr. Samit.
Thank you, Himanshu. Thank you, Ajay Kumar Rai sir.
Yes, sir. Actually, we were listening your lecture, myself and Dr. Bipul, and we were discussing. This is the second the series. In this series, this is the second one, and every semester we are trying to have these sessions for new